Yasuke, a Wild Samurai anime or a complete mess? So get this, you have Japan's first black samurai. Let's also toss in magic, some discount Gundams too. They love Twilight or Werewolf Chick too. You know Avatar's popular, so why not? Toss it in. 12 episodes? No, let's give Mappa a challenge with half that. So go ahead and colossal smash a like and let's try to dive into this. This new Netflix anime, is it worth your time? The premise of this anime, or at least the main character, is actually based on a real life figure, Japan's one and only black samurai. The introduction to this begins right away, jumping into Yasuke already having been a samurai for a while now. You got a historic samurai battle taking place with magic and mechs. Unfortunately, Yasuke's side is getting pushed back. Ultimately, Yasuke is even the one that helps to end his lord's life, which is something that eventually troubles him years later. The actual story you get in these 6 episodes actually takes place 20 years after this big ass battle. Yasuke has given up the sword. Instead, he's drinking every day, he's working a boat to get by, and really just laying it easy in this remote Japanese village. You really spend the story flipping through 2 different time periods, the present day, and sometimes seeing the past through flashbacks that Yasuke has, like times when he was actually at his prime as a samurai, which honestly I really found a lot more interesting than the story you were given. Unfortunately, this short anime has a ton of issues. First off, for the characters, there really are just like 2. Are any of them likable? You do have Yasuke. It's been 20 years later, I'm guessing the guy's in his 40s or 50s. The guy actually seems very similar to Joe from the current season. He's gone through some trauma, he's dealing with his demons. Despite giving up the sword, something happens that pushes him back into the ring, or in this case, sword battles. Second character, a girl you may love like Gabby. Turns out she is this superpowered little girl. Unfortunately, she's gotten sick, maybe gotten the Rona. The reason Yasuke is even involved with this little girl is that the mom actually asked him for some help, to help take the little girl to this remote location to see this doctor. And let me just say, I did not like this girl by the end of this, and I was trying. Right at the beginning, you do see the mother getting killed. Oh, who knew it was Disney making this? Thing is, the girl doesn't even seem to really care. I mean, if you don't care about your damn mom dying, why should we? After this moment, it really just becomes a road trip with the superpowered psychic girl and Yasuke. This overpowered little girl pretty much has X-Men abilities that keep on getting stronger and stronger as the story progresses. And unfortunately, this is really where the trouble starts. Unfortunately, the story really becomes more about this little girl than Yasuke. In story, she actually admits that she doesn't even need Yasuke. The guy could go on back to drinking, doing whatever he wanted, not putting himself at risk for the little girl. But no, she wants him to tag along cause she's lonely. For Yasuke, I do want to say the anime gave you the foundation for an interesting character, but it feels like they just didn't do enough for him. Throughout the episodes, you keep on seeing this guy flashing back to his past. For example, when he switched over from being a servant, into ultimately the path that would make him into Japan's first black samurai. At the beginning of this, I thought I was gonna get really annoyed with that. But then seeing the actual main story that was given, I would have much seen that. Yasuke at his prime. Yasuke doing the work, struggling. I mean, of course, there were going to be people that didn't like seeing this guy as a samurai, or really just in samurai gear. So right here, you really have the biggest sin. The story they chose was unfortunately really not interesting. Like, screw this little X-Men girl, I want to know more about Yasuke. Then the biggest second sin committed at the same time? Fine, you don't have to have the ultimate god tier story, but at least give me likable characters. Which is a shame since the story gave you characters that could have been likable. You have Yasuke. In the past, you do see Nobunaga that eventually made him into a samurai. This guy seemed like a chill dude. From the bounty hunters going after them, perhaps I'm reaching for scraps, but I actually like the Russian thick bear chick. Or was it supposed to be a werewolf? I don't know. But getting back to Yasuke and even the little girl, here's a different problem besides not getting fleshed out enough. Unfortunately, these two don't really seem to ever face a real challenge or struggle in the story. They show you enough of Yasuke's past, so it really shouldn't be a surprise this guy not having trouble versus normal samurai. But then fighting shapeshifters, mutants, superpowered people, demons, the thick bear lady. I'm like, they're eventually gonna reveal that Yasuke has some superpower. At points you see this guy battling out with them, jumping and doing these superpowered moves. Like, I'm sorry, did Yasuke just train on his days off? For decades the guy had given up the sword, really just drinking, taking it easy. Not to mention the guy is in his 40s or 50s at this point. At one point in the story, Yasuke gets beat up to the point of almost dying, bleeding out. And I was really expecting for one of these superpowered individuals to heal him up. But no, the guy just sleeps it off and he's a-okay the next day. Like, I know this is supposed to be fantasy with sci-fi elements, but at least be consistent with the rules you set up. You do know that Mappa is the studio behind this. Did they perhaps set up the bar too high, overhyping the show? I mean, besides recently doing Attack on Titan Season 4 and Jujutsu Kaisen, they've done Dorohedoro and Taiso Samurai. they're kicking ass with Zombieland Saga are airing right now. For the music department, the characters and story were lacking, so I was really hoping this would at least make up for it a little bit. Unfortunately, I found it really silent or just non-existent. It was that not notable. There might have been one piece I liked, but that was it. So really another letdown. But how about the animation? I mean, this is Mappa Studio. No surprise, really no god tier animation seen here. Even past that, no wonderful stuff like seen in Jujutsu Kaisen or Attack on Titan Season 4. As a positive, I can say that at least it did look consistent. I was expecting the animation to dip at some points, notably with Yasuke, but I really didn't notice it if it did. For the actual fight scenes, I'm sorry, but this did not deliver. Again, perhaps because he had the Mappa stamp on this, but the stuff you see here looks like it was done by some bottom tier studio. You know those seasonal anime that are rated 6 or less on my anime list? Yeah, the stuff seen here gives me a vibe from that. And trust me, I've seen my fair share of those. Another issue that I thought at the beginning was that the pacing was way too quick. It felt like the similar issue I had with Attack on Titan Season 4. Like, frickin' give me a minute to take it in. You got no excuse. But instead the opposite happened. They seemed like they were racing through their lines. Which really gets into the voice actor issue. I actually realized later this was an issue since the anime prioritized the English dub. So now you have the Japanese dialogue suffering due to it vastly being different in a lot of cases. For any of you dub watchers that seen the English version or the other versions, let me know how it was. I have seen dub watchers being vocal about hating how Yasuke sounded bored throughout this. I felt that way from the trailer, but honestly I really don't have the ear for it. I think the last dub anime I watched was Ghost in the Shell.
I've seen many illnesses, but nothing like this.
For other weird pacing issues, you do have a weird transition in the story from episode 4 to episode 5. Like, hey, the main issue of revolving around the little girl has been resolved, I guess. And Yasuke's like, let me go fight in this war now. I had to go back, I thought I missed an episode or two. But were there any positives? I don't want to be overly negative about this. I think at the very least Yasuke will succeed letting people know there was a real-life black samurai. You could go ahead and check out the wiki page on him. Unfortunately, as tends to happen with history, there's almost nothing known about him. At the same time, I do need to mention that Afro Samurai already did something similar for Yasuke. The design for Afro was based on him after all. I guess throughout the series, the backgrounds look nice, which almost seems like false praise since it seems like a given for anime nowadays. Most anime studios outsource their work to a different sub-studio anyway. For this, Mappa Studio used Bamboo, Studio Easter, and even JC Staff is credited for episode 3. At the end of the day, how could you improve this? And definitely chime below. I think being longer definitely would not have hurt. I mean, forget about being great. How many anime struggle being good with only 12 episodes? With more episodes, you really could have fleshed out Yasuke. Instead of flashing back to him, just spend an entire episode with him in the past or open up with that. Like, no joke, I would have much rather focused on Yasuke, him trying to become this samurai instead of being the bodyguard for this kid. Or if you really wanted to do this story, spend the first 6 episodes fleshing him out in the past. Let us know why we should care about this world. A super easy fix was to get rid of the discount Gundams. Who thought that was a good idea? It felt like the writer here wanted to throw in every trope from freaking anime. Mechs, shapeshifters, shaman, spirit users, which they didn't bother to explain by the way. In some ways, this anime actually reminded me of Dororo. Despite me having my issues with that series, at least it was entertaining. I'm not gonna lie, Yasuke was a snooze fest at parts. It really is frustrating, they could have done so much with this. Yasuke could have been the next Samurai Champloo, or Vinland Saga. But no, instead they crapped on anything promising here. That is the real kicker. For my final rating, this is just dull and wasted potential. I don't recommend watching this. But if you are still curious about this, check out the Japanese version. I don't think it's that god-awful, but it really is just mid-level. We just got done with so much amazing anime from Winter Anime Season. Go catch up on some of that instead. It sucks to say, but I got a feeling that Yasuke is going to end up in a lot of worst of 2021 anime lists. I would much rather watch The God of High School again than this. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Maybe you liked it. Did you have any similar problems? Did you love parts of it? How was the voice acting? Or just say hi. Definitely subscribe for weekly anime videos. Check out Better Anime to Watch airing right now, and I'll see you guys later.